Hi, I'm Randy Aspinall from Emigh Hardware, and I'm out here at Sutter Health Park, home of the River Cats, and I'm going to plant some tomatoes today. Now, normally during the season we plant all kinds of vegetables, including the giant pumpkin, but this year we're just going to do some tomatoes and some perennials just to kind of get us started for the season. The season itself's a little shorter this year, and because we're not going to have as many fans down on this end of the park, we decided just to go with tomatoes. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to use some Mycorrhizae we get from Extreme Gardening, and we're going to add those to the root system of the plant just to get the tomatoes started, because tomatoes, it's all about the roots. They love to get their roots going everywhere. And as you can see, we've got the beds all prepared, so we're going to get out there and plant. So let's get started. So we're going to start out by laying out the tomatoes, and this would go with any vegetables you're going to do. You want to lay out, plot out where you're going to have everything. And this, again, makes it pretty easy today because we're just going to be doing tomatoes. And so I'm going to approximate where I want them. It also is coordinating with where the drip system is going to be. So we're going to start by putting them down. Okay, I think that'll do it. This soil from Black Gold is just incredible. This is all last year's soil that we turned up, and it just is beautiful, and it's soft, and it's going to be able to absorb lots of moisture, so we won't have to water it as much, which is really good. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to get started now planting. All right, so we're going to start by digging a little hole. Now, I've looked at the size of this hole is about the same as my spade here, so I'm gonna dig it out. I always like to make the hole a little bigger than the pot that the tomato is going to go in. Now, the one thing with tomatoes is tomatoes like a healthy root system, and they could create that root system from anywhere along the stem. So I'm going to take off these bottom leaves, and I'm going to I'm going to ultimately plant this way down here so that everything along this stem is going to grow roots and make the root system even more developed. So now I'm going to take some of the Mycorrhizae, and I like to do this right over the top of the hole. And I'm going to put some Mycorrhizae on the root system, and then I'll stick it down in the hole, and notice that I'm going to cover it up all the way up to the top, just like that. And we're going to make sure it's packed well. And then we'll build a little moat around it, just like we did earlier this year with the roses. Just to kind of make sure the water stays. And there we go, all planted. So to go along with a vegetable garden, it is a super great idea if you can plant some perennials, something that's going to have color, something that's going to attract bees and other insects that'll pollinate your plants to your garden. Because a lot of times your garden can produce blooms, whether they be tomatoes or peppers or whatever, but if there isn't some cross-pollination, if there isn't bees and other insects traveling from one flower to the next, they may not get pollinated, and that may be the reason you're not getting blooms or perhaps not getting fruit on your vegetables. So we always start by putting some perennials at each end, and sometimes even in the middle of the garden, so that we can draw in those insects. That's the reason for doing it. Today we're going to plant some lavender at this end and that end, and if you look down, the next bed we have other perennials planted from the year before. And we do that all the time. It seems to really produce a lot more product that way. Okay, so we're gonna get started. We'll make a hole again. We're gonna make a hole bigger than the pot we're gonna put it in, because we need to make sure that there's plenty of root space. Roots are very important to any kind of plant, but especially those in a garden. So we're gonna get, it's all churned up. This is such great soil. I can't believe it. And once we got the hole where I want it, maybe just a little deeper. Then we're gonna put some mycorrhizae, or get the mycorrhizae ready, I should say. And I always turn the plant kind of upside down as I'm doing this to try and get it to come out a little easier. There we go. And then I'm going to loosen up the root ball. I usually do this by hand. I don't destroy the root ball, I just kind of loosen it. A lot of people are into cutting the ends and doing all of that. It's not my way to do it, but whatever works for you. But the key is the roots are very important to the plant. So again, that's why we're putting the mycorrhizae in the soil with the roots. They work best when they come in direct contact with the root system. Again, we're going to press down, make sure there's not any air space there. And then we're going to just mold it up, give it a space. And that's it, we're done. So now we're going to move on, and we're going to do another bed and another bed, and we just continue planting, getting ready for spring season with the river cats. This is Randy Aspinall at Sutter Health Park for Emigh Hardware. Enjoy your gardening.